Section 702 is indispensable in keeping Americans safe from a whole barrage of fast-moving foreign threats. It is crucial to identifying terrorists in the homeland, working with or inspired by a rogues gallery of foreign terrorist organizations who have publicly called for attacks against our country.
That was FBI Director Christopher Wray testifying about the importance of FISA Section 702 during a House Appropriations Subcommittee hearing yesterday. Multiple lawmakers telling Fox that there is a new plan now to pass the FISA reauthorization bill. They'll try to vote on that FISA bill again today. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan told me yesterday he wants to see a warrant requirement for the 702 program. Watch.
Putting more regulations on the FBI on how they search the 702 database is not enough. You have to go to a separate and equal branch of government. You have to go to the judicial branch and get the warrant to do so. And we even provide exceptions. We say if it's an emergency situation, imminent threat to the safety of the country, you can do the search. But short of that, go get a warrant. That's how our Constitution works.
Joining me now is Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, a member of the House Judiciary and Republican Study Committee. She's also the commissioner of the U.S. Commission on Security and Cooperation in Europe. Congresswoman, thanks very much for being here. Your reaction to the fight over FISA, where do you want to see this go?
Well, listen, Maria, unfortunately, this section has been abused and used a loophole to do enormous collections on Americans. And I will make your viewers feel a little bit better that this current version will Congress is trying to authorize to violate their First Amendment rights, not for 5 years, but only for 2 years. I mean, it's truly ridiculous. And no one is even auditing what they're collecting and what they're retaining. The only good thing, and that's what I think Jim Jordan pointed out, we fought and we're going to have Judiciary Committee really fought hard on that to have an amendment on the floor. If FBI is running query on U.S. citizens, on Americans, they will be required to obtain a warrant. And that is something I would encourage your viewers and all Americans to pay attention, how their representatives are going to be voted on that. Because we're the only reason we created here to protect their rights. But this has been used as a complete loophole and abuse and national security use here to really, to abuse constitutional rights of Americans.
So what does Christopher Wray say when this issue is raised with him, that the FBI has abused FISA time and time again against political enemies of the Democrats? They did it to Trump and his officials in 2016 and well into his presidency in 2017. What is Christopher Wray's answer, that the FBI's abuse of this FISA allowance is the reason that he's getting so much pushback on the reauthorization?
Well, listen, Maria, it's the same story all the time. Every time they say, yeah, we acknowledge, we'll do better, and they do it again and again. Because no matter they're done, no one ever got punished. No matter what they did to Trump, in 2016, no one went to jail. They all have amnesia, and they all, and I mean, no one got punished. So until there are consequences, they will continue to tell us all these lies to us. But we should really, our job is not to worry what they have to say. Our job is to protect rights of Americans. And there is nothing wrong. It's actually our job to err always on the side of the constitutional amendments. And I think, there is actually, it's something that Fourth Amendment, it's something that's very important issue. And I think this is a very, really crucial vote. And if it is going to be authorized without it, we allow lawlessness continue. And FBI, going to continue to intimidate and survey Americans.
Wow, what a state of affairs. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking with White House negotiators about a new Ukraine aid package. Congressman, I want to get your take on this because the Journal recently wrote a piece about you titled, "The Only U.S. Lawmaker Born in Ukraine is Now Skeptical of More Aid." Tell us about it.
Well, listen, Maria, 2 years ago I said, we don't have never-ending money, and Ukrainians also don't have never-ending lives. In any war, you have to have a strategy, a line. I mean, we took down post-Soviet Union because we had energy strategy, economic strategy, and it cannot be only one with weapons. And unfortunately, Biden likes to have slush funds, then he can spend whatever all over the world without any accountability to American people and neglect internal issue, domestic issue like our border. So I think Congress need to put stop to it. I understand the importance and really what's happening right now for not to lose to China, Russia, and Iran that advancing rapidly around the world. But there is, very weak leadership and lack of action and strategy, just grandiose statements. It's not what is really going to deter aggression. So I think we need to be more serious and probably do some lethal aid on loan, at least for Ukrainian military to hold the ground, and then hopefully we'll have better leaders to try to do something. But it's disgraceful what's happening.
No, do you believe that the aid is being put to where we think it's being put? I mean, do we have documentation on where this aid is going? Why not just send weapons?
That's what I said. And why don't we do it loan? We passed Lend-Lease 2 years ago, and was unanimous in the Senate. It has better accountability, and we really should always hold governments like Ukraine owe to us. We didn't do that. And when I passed an amendment, I want to know which countries and companies are getting that aid. I passed it through NDAA, and the Senate took it out. They do not want to tell us. And if they don't want to tell the American people, we should really get much tougher on that because it's a serious war. And this is our responsibility. When I criticize them, you know what? They drag me through mud that I am pro-Kremlin because Congresswoman dares to ask accountability. Listen, our grandchildren will be paying for that, and we need to make sure that it is in our national interest, and we need to make sure that we don't have never-ending wars because they end usually not very bad, not very good. We saw what's happening after $2 trillion spent in Afghanistan.
No, you can't just keep sending money without recognizing the debt that this country faces, $36 trillion. Joe Borelli, jump in here.
Yeah, you just made it a very effective case about maybe pumping the brakes on aid, or at the very least being deliberate and transparent about where the money's going. But there's a clear divide within your conference, and some have even drawn a red line. So how vulnerable is Speaker Johnson if he goes forward with the aid package he's proposing?
Well, listen, it's a combination of things. A lot of my conservatives are upset that we're now, governing through suspensions and with Democrats. I have to be fair. It's, he inherited a lot of difficult situations from previous speaker and previous Congresses, and we have a very tight majority. So from my perspective, at this point to try to deal with another speaker, it's not going to make any difference. We need to find how we can hold the ground and probably have a better president next year. Senate and call the House, but some of my colleagues, they're ultimately very upset, and it's just accumulation and FISA and a lot of bills, and now Ukraine, so it's all together, and it's a potential, could be a risk that some of them might decide that they want to have, different speaker. They're very upset that we don't go through the rules, but it's hard. I understand that.
Well, it's because you haven't been able to secure the border. This is the only thing that Republicans have been talking about now for over a year, secure the border, but your colleagues on the left will not do it.
Well, and I think the challenge is, I feel the same way. We should leverage this aid. We should have leverage our appropriations and say, you know what, we're going to pick a hill to die on, and it's going to be a border. We're going to take that hill.
Right.
Or we're going to shut down the whole government because this is a national security issue #1 for the country. It's disgraceful. It's dangerous what's happening. We can do the same with the aid. But unfortunately, there is a lot of talk, but people are not willing to dig in. So I understand why my colleagues are upset. I probably belong to the same group of colleagues, and I didn't like what Kevin didn't do and was very vocal, but I just, probably wouldn't at this point. But I hope he will hold the ground, and maybe at least we'll do something on the border still.
All right, Congresswoman, good to see you. Thanks very much. Victoria Spartz.